This is the story of a terrifying creature, so deadly its bite can shut down a victim's body in hours. But what happened when a human stepped into the lab and did something no one, alien or human, expected? Stay till the end to discover the surprising twist that left everyone speechless. The quarantine lab on the ship Starfield Arcadia was filled with tension. The crew, a mix of humans and aliens, gathered around a strong containment chamber at the center of the room. Inside, a fierce creature growled and struggled, baring sharp fangs as it fought against a glowing containment field. Dr. Selik Tovar, an alien vet from Varithia, stood nervously at the control panel. He faced the crew, his pale green face worried as he spoke clearly. This creature is a Zarnak predator. Its bite kills within 72 hours. The venom quickly attacks the nervous system, shutting down the victim's body before they can get help. The crew members exchanged anxious glances. Someone muttered, "It got out during transit? How did it even get on board?" Selik's tone was crisp. "Its container was compromised during a cargo shift. Fortunately, we contained it before it harmed anyone. However, the potential for contact remains high. If any crew member was exposed..." At that moment, a tall figure at the back of the group stepped forward. "Doc, are you talking about that thing's bite?" Selik turned sharply to face him. "Yes. Have you seen this creature outside containment?" The human, dressed in a worn utility jumpsuit, rolled up his left sleeve, revealing a small, crescent-shaped scar on his forearm. The crew gasped. Selik's eyes widened. That's a Zarnak bite mark. When did this occur?" "About a week ago," the human said calmly. "Was doing an inspection on a survey site. Thing bit me when I cleared some debris." Selik's pulse quickened. "A week? But how are you still alive? There are no known treatments for Zarnak venom in any species we've studied." The human, introducing himself as Ben Carter, grinned. "Well, Doc, it hurt like hell for a day or two, but after that it was just a sore spot. Sealed up clean. Didn't think much of it until you mentioned the Zarnak." The lab fell silent. Selik stepped forward, scanning Ben's arm with his portable analyzer. The scanner beeped, highlighting the residual markers of the venom at the bite site. There's residual venom," Selik said, astonished. "Your immune system neutralized it. How?" Ben shrugged. "Not sure, just figured it was a bad bite, like from a rattlesnake back home. Took some antibiotics, cleaned it out, and waited." Selik's jaw clenched. "Rattlesnake. You're comparing this to Earth fauna?" Zarnak venom induces systemic paralysis, neurogenic shock, and organ failure. We have documentation of complete physiological collapse in species with robust immune systems. Ben's grin widened. "Guess I'm lucky. Or maybe humans are built tougher than you thought." The alien vet's mind raced. "We need to examine you fully. This could have implications for cross-species toxin resistance." Before Ben could protest, Selik gestured for medical support. "Prepare the isolation suite, full blood panel and neurophysiological scan. This human may hold the key to counteracting Zarnak venom." As they escorted Ben toward the medical wing, crew members whispered in disbelief. One of them, a young Elnari technician, murmured, "He got bitten last week and walked it off?" Another added, "Humans are either insane or indestructible." Selik, walking beside Ben, asked quietly, "Did you notice any symptoms? Muscle weakness? Confusion? Respiratory issues?" Ben considered it. Felt dizzy for a day. Arm was sore. Little numbness. Cleared up by the second day. "Incredible," Selik said softly. "No collapse? No systemic spread? How did your body manage that?" Ben's tone was light. "You tell me, Doc. I'm just the guy who got bit." Inside the medical suite, Ben was guided onto a diagnostic table. Selik activated the scanners, layering holographic overlays of Ben's circulatory, nervous, and immune systems. The venom residue lit up in faint yellow along the bite track, but no active toxins were detected elsewhere. "Your immune response is remarkable," Selik murmured. "Your body generated antibodies capable of neutralizing the venom. We've never seen this before." Ben flexed his arm experimentally. "So, I'm not going to drop dead in the next hour?" Salik's lips thinned. Unlikely. But we need to monitor you for late-phase reactions, and I must insist on a full workup. This discovery could change our understanding of human resilience and help us develop antivenoms for other species. Ben lay back with a sigh. Fine, Doc, but if anyone asks, I'm charging double for dangerous cargo inspections from now on. Salik's lobes pulsed in reluctant amusement. As the diagnostic suite hummed around them, the truth settled over the crew. The human who'd shrugged off a fatal predator bite wasn't just lucky. He was living proof that resilience sometimes came from unexpected places. Salik paced the edges of the medical suite, the gentle hum of diagnostic equipment filling the air. His mind buzzed with calculations and theories as the scans of Ben Carter's arm projected in layered holography. Despite the visible scarring and residual traces of venom, Ben's systemic markers showed no signs of distress. "How did you do this?" Salik muttered, almost to himself. Ben, lying back on the padded diagnostic bed, tilted his head. "Like I said, Doc, I just cleaned the bite, kept the area elevated, and waited. Took some antibiotics because I didn't know what it was. Figured it was a bad bite, maybe bacterial. After a few days, it stopped hurting." Salik's hands hovered over his datapad. "Your initial reaction included dizziness and numbness, correct? No respiratory distress or cardiac irregularities?" Ben nodded. "No trouble breathing, no racing heart, just felt tired and sore. And the bite itself wasn't huge. Maybe half an inch deep, not much bleeding." Salik's brows furrowed. The Zarnak's venom is designed to incapacitate through neural disruption and rapid muscular paralysis. Your immune response must have neutralized the active components before systemic spread. Ben flexed his arm slowly. "So, I'm a medical miracle?" Salik's voice softened, still tinged with disbelief. "Perhaps. Or perhaps human biology is uniquely equipped to handle this toxin. Either way, we need further analysis." Angela Price, the human nurse assigned to Starfield Arcadia, entered the suite with a tablet. "I pulled Ben's medical records from Earth. Looks like he's up to date on all standard vaccines, and there's a note here. He had a bad bite from a feral dog about 2 years ago. It required a tetanus booster and a rabies protocol." Salik's eyes widened slightly. Rabies? An Earth pathogen with neurotropic properties. Could prior exposure have trained his immune system to respond more effectively to the Zarnak venom? Angela nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible. Earth pathogens can be aggressive. Our immune systems adapt fast under pressure. Plus, the inflammatory response from that dog bite might have left behind some immune memory for similar toxins." Ben shifted, wincing faintly. "So what you're saying is that getting bit back home might have saved me from a worse fate here." Salik exhaled slowly. "It seems that way. Still, we must be cautious. The venom traces in your tissue are inert, but we need to monitor for late-phase effects. Immune overreactions, delayed neurotoxicity, or tissue degradation." Ben gave a small nod. "Understood, but for now I feel fine. Honestly, I felt worse after a night shift fixing fusion cores." Angela stifled a laugh. "That's probably true. But you're not out of the woods yet." Salik ordered a series of blood tests comparing Ben's antibody titers with those of other crew members. The samples showed elevated immunoglobulin levels, targeting the Zarnak venom proteins. His immune system had recognized the threat and responded with precision. "What's more," Salik murmured as he reviewed the results, "your antibody titers are rising, not falling. Your system is reinforcing its defenses. This isn't just resistance, it's adaptation." Ben sat up straighter. "So, my body's learning how to fight the venom better?" Salik nodded, his expression now thoughtful. "Yes. You may have generated an immune template we can study to create a broad-spectrum antivenom. If we can synthesize your antibodies, we might protect others exposed to Zarnak bites." Angela added, "That could save a lot of lives, Ben. Your body's stubbornness might just be the key to a major breakthrough." Ben rubbed the back of his neck. "All because I rolled up my sleeve and said, 'Got bitten last week.' Funny how things turn out." Selic's expression softened with a mix of respect and exasperation. Next time, Mr. Carter, perhaps you could report these incidents immediately rather than brushing them off? Ben grinned. Sure thing, Doc, though you know us humans, we tend to downplay things. The rest of the day saw Ben undergoing a battery of additional tests. Angela stayed close, coordinating scans and sample analysis while Selic worked with his alien team to study the venom's molecular structure. Data streams flickered with models of the neurotoxin's action, overlaid with projections of how Ben's immune response had countered each phase. By evening, the results were clear. Ben's immune system had effectively neutralized the venom by isolating and degrading the active proteins before they could bind to neural receptors. His initial symptoms were due to localized exposure, but the systemic spread had been halted by a rapid, targeted response. Selic briefed the ship's command staff. The human's exposure has provided us with invaluable data. We're initiating the development of an antivenom based on his antibody profile. However, we must remain vigilant. There may be other factors at play in his resistance: prior immune challenges, genetic predisposition, or environmental conditioning. Captain Theron, a tall Elnari with a glistening mantle of iridescent scales, listened intently. And Mr. Carter himself? He's stable, Selic confirmed. I recommend monitored recovery, limited duty, and continued observation. Ben, sitting quietly in the corner of the room, raised a hand. I'm right here, you know. And I'm fine. Theron chuckled. Noted, Mr. Carter. But let's err on the side of caution. Your fine has already given our medical staff a week's worth of heart palpitations. The crew laughed, the tension breaking. Angela gave Ben a knowing smile. You'll be a legend around here, you know, the human who shrugged off a Zarnak bite. Ben smirked. I've had worse. Ben's story spread quickly throughout Starfield Arcadia. Crew members from every deck found excuses to cross paths with him, curious to glimpse the human who'd survived the notorious Zarnak bite. Even those from species with long memories of ancient predators couldn't fathom how someone could treat a potentially fatal encounter with such calm acceptance. Ben, though mildly amused by the attention, kept to his usual routines. His arm was healing nicely, the faint scar already fading into a thin line. Angela checked him daily, monitoring for any delayed effects. Blood panels showed a steady presence of antibodies, no signs of systemic stress, and a return to baseline immune markers. One afternoon, Selic summoned Ben to the medical wing for a formal debriefing. The Verithian stood near a projection of the Zarnak's venom protein structure, annotated with human immune response markers. Mr. Carter, Selic said, his voice carefully neutral, we've completed our analysis. Your immune system's reaction to the venom was both rapid and specific. The antibodies you generated are unlike any we've cataloged before. Ben leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed lightly. So I'm officially a medical anomaly? Selic's lobes pulsed faintly in what Ben had come to recognize as restrained amusement. In a manner of speaking. More importantly, we've begun synthesizing a prototype antivenom using your antibody template. Early tests in our simulation models are promising. It may provide partial protection for other species. Angela, seated at the console, added, we'll still need to adapt it for cross-space use, but the foundation is solid. Your body did the hard work. Now we just need to replicate the process safely. Ben scratched his head. Glad to be of service, though I'd rather not make a habit of getting bitten by alien wildlife. Selic nodded solemnly. Understood. However, I must emphasize, while your recovery was remarkable, it's not a universal model. Others bitten by a Zarnik would likely not fare as well. I get that, Ben said, his tone serious. I won't downplay it, I was lucky. Maybe a combination of past injuries, tough immune system, and sheer stubbornness. But I know better than to treat it like nothing. Angela gave him a wry smile. That's more sensible than most humans I've treated. Later that day, the ship's veterinary team invited Ben to the observation deck overlooking the quarantine lab. The Zarnak, now properly contained, was sedated and under analysis. Its sleek form and razor-like fangs glinted under the lab lights. Yoret, a young Elnari veterinarian, approached Ben hesitantly. "I've read every case report we have on Zarnak venom. No species has survived an untreated bite until you. May I—" She gestured toward his arm. Ben rolled up his sleeve, revealing the faint scar. Yoret's eyes widened. "That's all? A mark barely the size of a fingernail?" Ben shrugged. "The creature didn't get much of a bite before I pulled free. Cleaned it, disinfected, wrapped it up. By Earth standards, it was a bad scratch. Didn't think it'd amount to much more." Yoret looked stunned. "On my world, even a minor scrape from a venomous creature warrants immediate quarantine and treatment. Your immune system's adaptability is astonishing." Selleck joined them, nodding. "It is, but it also underscores the danger of underestimating alien fauna. Mr. Carter's experience should be a lesson in vigilance, not complacency." Ben agreed, his tone steady. "I've got no illusions about how close I came. Next time, I'm reporting it right away." Angela, who had arrived during the exchange, placed a hand on his shoulder. "And we'll be ready. Thanks to your stubborn immune system, we'll have an anti-venom protocol prepared for any future incidents." That evening, the crew gathered in the mess hall for an informal recognition. Captain Theron commended Ben's calm under pressure and acknowledged the medical team's rapid response. Though the gathering was casual, the unspoken message was clear. Adaptability, courage, and cross-species cooperation had turned a near disaster into a valuable learning experience. As the evening wound down, Ben found himself seated at a corner table with Salik, Angela, and a few of the veterinary staff. Over steaming mugs of synthy brew, they shared stories of past encounters with dangerous fauna, comparing scars and experiences. Ben traced the fading mark on his arm thoughtfully. "Funny, isn't it? Something that could have killed me ended up being just a scratch. I felt worse from a sunburn back home." Selleck's expression softened. "Perhaps, but your story will remind this crew, and others, that resilience isn't always about strength or technology. Sometimes it's about knowing when to act, when to endure, and when to adapt." Ben raised his mug in a quiet toast. To knowing when to adapt, and maybe to a little luck. The group clinked mugs, their laughter echoing through the mess hall as the ship continued its steady journey through the stars. A week after Ben Carter's near miss with the Zarnak Predator, life aboard Starfield Arcadia had begun returning to its usual rhythm. Yet, the incident left a lasting imprint on both the crew and medical staff, fostering a mix of respect and curiosity toward human biology that hadn't existed before. Selleck Tovar spent late hours in the med lab, poring over the data from Ben's blood panels and immune responses. Alongside Angela and the veterinary team, he had mapped a complete profile of the antibodies Ben's system had generated in response to the Zarnak venom. The initial tests on cell cultures from various species showed promise, and a prototype antivenom was nearly ready for controlled trials. Salik was at his workstation, fine-tuning dosage parameters for the antivenom, when Ben himself walked into the lab. His arm was now fully healed, the scar almost invisible. He leaned casually against the doorframe, watching the Verithian work. "Thought you might still be here, Doc," Ben said. Selleck looked up, his pale green features relaxing. "Mr. Carter, should you be walking around this late?" Ben grinned. "I'm fine. Angela signed off on my recovery, no more special restrictions." He paused, his tone softening. "I wanted to see how it was coming along, the antivenom." Salik gestured to the display. "We're close. Your immune response gave us a blueprint we couldn't have obtained any other way. Once we validate the synthesis process, we'll distribute doses to every ship in the fleet that handles Zarnak specimens." Ben approached, examining the scrolling data. "It's a weird feeling, knowing something so simple, a bad bite and some good luck, might end up saving lives." Salik tilted his head thoughtfully. "It's not just luck. It's resilience. Adaptation. Your body's response was a combination of environmental conditioning, immune memory from past exposures, and yes, a measure of human stubbornness. Ben's grin widened. I've been called worse. Selleck's lobes twitched in a gesture Ben now recognized as restrained amusement. Your capacity for understatement continues to surprise me. I've reviewed historical Earth medical records. Your species has a long history of surviving what should be fatal injuries. Extreme trauma, infections, environmental hazards. It seems to be ingrained in your physiology and psychology. Ben shrugged. Comes from growing up in a world where nature's trying to kill you in at least a dozen ways a day. We learn to roll with it. Angela entered just then, holding a tray with labeled vials. Final stability tests passed on the Antivenom. Selleck were ready to prepare a batch for field distribution. Salik nodded approvingly. Excellent. We'll notify the fleet. And you, Mr. Carter, he turned to Ben with a rare, earnest expression. You should know your contribution here extends beyond this ship. You've provided data that could prevent untold fatalities in the future. Ben rubbed the back of his neck, looking slightly embarrassed. Well, glad I could help, though next time maybe we can figure out a safer way to contribute than getting bit by something with fangs longer than my finger. Angela smirked. That's a deal. But knowing you, you'll probably have another close call before long. Ben laughed. Probably, but I'll be sure to tell someone next time before it turns into a medical mystery. Later that evening, the crew gathered in the mess hall for an informal celebration. Captain Theron stood before them, addressing the group with quiet pride. Today, we recognize not just a close call, but a triumph of cooperation and adaptability. Thanks to Mr. Carter's experience and the expertise of our medical and veterinary teams, we've turned a dangerous encounter into a pathway for safety. He lifted a small glass in salute. To resilience and to the stubborn determination that keeps us all moving forward. The crew echoed the toast, laughter and cheers filling the air. Ben found himself surrounded by familiar faces, from engineers to medics to the alien crew members who had initially stared at him with wide-eyed disbelief. They now approached him with handshakes, claps on the shoulder, and even a few cautious hugs. As the celebration continued, Rylas, a young Elnari veterinary student, shyly approached him. Mr. Carter, I wanted to thank you. Your explanation helped me understand not just human biology, but also the importance of staying calm in emergencies. You showed us how to read the body's signals, not just react to them. Ben gave her a warm smile, glad to hear it. That's something worth remembering, no matter where you're from. Rylas hesitated, then added, I've started compiling a cross-species manual on recognizing and managing venomous injuries. Would you help me review the human sections? Ben chuckled softly. I'd be honored. As the evening wound down, Ben stepped outside onto the observation deck, gazing out at the endless stars beyond. Selleck joined him, carrying a data pad with the final antivenom formulation approved and ready for distribution. You're part of this now, Mr. Carter, Selleck said quietly. Your name will be on the research credits. Your story will be part of the fleet's safety protocols. Ben glanced at him, a quiet pride in his expression. Well, I guess that scar will be more than just a story after all. They stood in companionable silence, watching the stars drift by. For all the advanced technology and alien wonders aboard Starfield Arcadia, it was a simple truth that bound them together. Resilience wasn't about fancy equipment or perfect conditions. It was about grit, adaptability, and a willingness to face the unexpected head-on. As Ben turned to head back inside, he rolled his sleeve back down, leaving the faint scar hidden once again. But everyone aboard Arcadia knew the story behind it, and it was a story that would travel far beyond the ship, a testament to human endurance and the quiet strength that could turn a brush with death into a lesson for the stars.